All right. Well, welcome back to session 2, everyone. This morning, we started with a look thinking about networks, how they get built out and what that can look like. For our second session, we're going to be moving into thinking about what do you do with the data after it's collected? How do you communicate it? How do you visualize it? What are the different things you can do to start making sure that data is getting shared and getting seen? Our first talk this morning is from Toby Meierbachtol from Synoptic on opportunities for improving site-based soil, weather, and hydrological data from a centralized data platform.
Thanks, Elise. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Yeah, so my name is Toby Meierbachtol. I'm here with Synoptic Data. I'll follow up on some of the details with regards to what Nathan presented on earlier. We are the contractor who is supporting the data aggregation and dissemination efforts as part of the UMRV project. And I'll talk a little bit more about what opportunities those efforts might have for expanding. Let's see here, I'll just do. Oh, I think I just have to do. Oh.
If you just
hopscotch
roll since it's a PDF.
Okay, there we go. I have to go.
Sorry about that.
Nope, no problem. All right, I'll start with just a little bit of history about who we are as a company for those who maybe aren't aware. We, Synoptic Data, began out of the University of Utah space, the Meso-West Research Group, and was started in the late 90s. We spun off as the commercial entity from Meso-West to support the operations around the data aggregation dissemination, in large part as support of the National Mesonet program. And through those efforts, now in the 2022-23 timeframe, took on the contracting duties to aggregate and disseminate the data on behalf of the Upper Missouri River Basin program. You can see in the timeline here, the last 25 years, how we have slowly grown our aggregation in terms of the number of stations that we're presently collecting and reporting data from. All right, similar view here, just looking at the map. So currently, United States, continental US centric, we have about 96,000 active stations. And these are reporting basic met variables, but also a lot of other variables that are more hydro focused. So 75,000 stations that are reporting precipitation. Many of those are CoCoRaHS, which is why I have that asterisk there. Snow depth, nearly 20,000 stations right now in our system. And then stream flow as well, over 8,900 stations. So working to aggregate data beyond just kind of the basic met. And if you look at the last 20 years or so, we've also been expanding our aggregation of stations that report soil data. So soil moisture, soil temperature, we're now at about a little over 3,000 for soil moisture, a little over 4,000 for soil temperature. So our role with the UMRV project that Nathan gave a nice overview on. Our role here is to ingest the data from the 5 different networks that Nathan mentioned. And then also we have requirements to expand the metadata system to support site and soils information. And I'll get into a little bit more detail about that, and then the opportunities that it presents beyond UMRV. And then just basic visualization. We're not soil specialists. I'm certainly not. Okay. So yeah, so we're already pulling Yeah.
Try talking now. No, I don't think it's the mic. I think the owl was muted. Try talking.
Maybe we're better. Are we good? Okay. I'll continue on. So as Nathan mentioned, the NRCS is doing soil sampling and lab analysis at each site in the UMRB. Our job, the NRCS provided us with a mapping of the station, each station, UMRB station, and its associated head-on ID and links to the labs. So we take that mapping, we go ahead and we pull in the lab data, access it through USDA's we can continue. I'll keep going. I'll just unmute as I need to. So yeah, so each of the providers is providing us with basically the cover description through via the cover description and the curve number tables from the USDA's technical report 55 and some other metadata as well. So we are basically pulling station data, we have the head-on data, and then some additional site data, slope aspect, the cover description, and then from that in the hydrologic soil group, we can provide the curve number estimate for each of the UMRB sites. And then, you know, we can take that information and integrate it into our existing APIs that we support, and also in our data viewer. We have a data viewer to visualize, try and improve the accessibility, the discoverability of the sites, and the stations from that we're aggregating. And we can include that information there. All right, really challenging to take a slide of an API request and turn it into anything interesting, but here it is. Just one quick example. Now that we're pulling in that information with a single API request to our metadata service, you can grab all the site information, and then on the right-hand side here, you can see an example of the head-on data for that particular site, and layer by layer, the different fields that we're grabbing from the NRCS soil analysis. And then you can include that information alongside the time series. So hopefully have a access to the head-on and station data from a centralized data platform. We are also working to make some of that basic information available in our data viewer. There's a URL that kind of demonstrates, or we'll send you to this particular screenshot. This is a view from University of Montana's Broadview site. QR code there will send you to the data viewer if you're interested in exploring the different station data that we have in our system. All right, the UMRB data access, Nathan touched on this. If there are federal partners and federally supported researchers who are in the room, here's how you can sign up. You can come talk to us or talk to me, and we can get you access to that UMRB data. But I did want to focus here and just make it known that the efforts that we made to support the UMRB now give us sort of additional capability on our platform that we can use to serve data outside of the UMRB as well, and make that data available through our APIs, maybe make it more accessible and discoverable. So what does that look like? These are just a few screenshots of our data viewer there are tools that we support now to be able to discover search stations based on network, based on variables that they report, based on the period of record of the station. You can select or search by particular station ID if you want to. So a way to try and take the large aggregation that we're doing and make that data accessible and discoverable to folks. Using the data itself. So yeah, map display, graphical time series display, tabular display as well. So working to improve the data access. All right. And also with regards to soil moisture, here's just a snapshot of volumetric water content. This is around the Austin area, I believe, perhaps in Texas. But working to make the soil moisture data itself also available. Like I said, we're not soil moisture experts. The visualization capabilities are super basic. We recognize that's not necessarily our responsibility. But if people have ideas for ways that we can improve, super eager to get feedback there. Okay, so just real briefly, what's next? In terms of the UMRV supported work, as the new stations come online, we'll be pulling that information in. As the PDON analyses are completed, we'll pull that information in, serve it alongside the station data. We're going to be working to improve some of our automated quality control processes of the soil and water adjacent variables. Things like sliding soil moisture when soil temperatures are below zero or below freezing, that sort of thing. We have a data download service where that allows people to grab flat files, CSV files of the data. We need to improve that, including metadata. Thanks, Elise, for that feedback. Serving better metadata alongside the CSVs files. And then also in our data viewer, continuing to add more features and variables. But beyond the UMRV, and this is what I wanted to focus on a little bit. Now that we have this kind of expanded capability, we could continue to add head-on information where available for other sites in our system. So just as one example, we're not actually grabbing soil moisture from the SNOTEL stations right now that do provide it. We could do that. We now have a direct feed with SNOTEL. The water and climate information system is in the process of tying the PEDON IDs to the SNOTEL and SCAN stations. We can go ahead now, now that we have this mapping, we could grab the PEDON information from those associated sites and store it in our metadata system. The question that I have, and hopefully you love feedback from folks, is that valuable? Is that necessary? Should we be prioritizing it alongside the other sort of tasks and priorities that we have as a company? So yeah, I think that the efforts that we've taken on with our partners for the UMRV project, we now have an opportunity to expand that. And so I would be really eager to get feedback from both data users, also data providers. What value do you see in serving the PEDON analyses alongside the station data? What's working? What can be improved? Are there improvements that could be made to discovering the data or visualizing the data? And for data providers, if you have stations that you would like to bring in or maybe PEDON data for existing networks in our system that are important to you, I'd be keen to talk about what those opportunities might look like. And with that, I think I'll take any questions.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, so I think Synoptic's really awesome. I'm just wondering, if we have a soil moisture network that's not currently in your system, who do we talk to about getting in your system?
Yeah, talk to me. Yeah, I'm a great starting point and I can send you to the right people. And we can go from there. Yeah, there's not, you know, a form to fill out or something like that. I think that we just start with a conversation.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions? I'll bring you.
It's presentation. I want to ask a question from the presentation through the video sessions. There's this question that runs through my mind. How do we validate the data that we from this census?
I don't know. I can't quite hear the question. Can you try it one more time?
The question is, how do we validate the data we get from the census installed in the ground?
So is the question, how do we validate the data that we get from the sensors? Okay, I would say that, we see ourselves as a data aggregator. We will do quality control, we'll perform our own quality control processes and checks on the data. We don't see ourselves as a validation service per se. We don't augment or change any of the data. Our goal is not to sort of do anything that might be misconstrued as taking ownership of the data away from the data providers. So I think that the data validation falls into perhaps that camp as well. So we could engage in conversations, but we don't do any validation per se.
So how do you data comes? Let's say.
Yeah, so I think the question is, how do we deal with data gaps? We don't do any backfilling and we don't do any interpolating. Right now, the data that we receive from the providers is the data that we can turn around and make accessible to others. So.
Part of it is not we, as part of it, we want to back and provide level measurements to be able to do that higher level. So I am curious, are you seeing that others are providing the whole range of so much measurements or must be providing to have that system?
Yeah, so I think that the question is, are we seeing NMP providers generally providing soil moisture measurements at just 1 or 2 depths to satisfy the requirements? I can't answer that question. That would be, so Elizabeth Wilson is our Director of Federal Programs and manages the National Mesonet Program. She would be better served to answer that. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to say anything out of turn. Sorry.
All right, thank you very much, Toby.